Okay, now we're going to start our background, and I have used white, medium gray, and citrus green. And what I did was I put the citrus green kind of in the middle here, put the white around that, and used the gray for the outside corners. Then when I started blending this, I fused the two colors together, or three colors. You've got three colors blending together. But then when I was ready to really soften it down, instead of holding my brush like this and blending back and forth, I held my brush like this to where it's real light. And I still have some blending time left in this. You can see that it is moving some of this paint, and that allows you're just barely holding it with your hands, and that allows you to just touch your canvas, and you can smooth some of these edges down. I can go into the center here and I can walk some of this color out. See, if I go in the center here, come out here, it places that color out here. I left everything pretty choppy. I wanted this to be really prominent here in the center because we're going to be having some branches and stuff come up. In fact, if I wanted a little bit of this area in here to be a little bit brighter, a little more dominant, I'm going to put a little white on top of that green while it's still wet. See how that brightens that up a little bit? And just feather that right on out so that you have I want a bright spot right in here so I can put my flowers on each side, and yet everything around it, and then underneath it you'll have that little spot that just shines underneath there. So that's the purpose of this little spot here. And we can go ahead and put other colors in here. It allows us to come back once this is dry and our painting's complete to go ahead and do a little bit of glazing so that we can add other colors out in the backdrop. So go ahead and do that much. Chop it up as much as you want to, or you can make it real smooth, whichever type of background that you want. Go ahead and get that put in, and then we want to completely let this dry. Okay, be back in a few. So now my background has completely dried, and I have used regular school chalk to get a pattern on here. And the first thing that I did was I created a C stroke. And this one started right up here, pointing to this corner, came all the way down, slightly curving, and then ending right down here. And then I'm going to add my flowers. I want 3 large flowers. I add my large flowers first along this C stroke. So what I did was the first oval went up here, and what I did was I created actually 2 ovals. I have one oval here, that's the center of the rose, and then I did another bigger oval around it. The bottom of the rose is going to come right in here, but I needed to know where the center part was because I'm going to base this in with a color. So you have an oval up here. I also have an oval on this side, and this is probably 4 inches long and maybe 3 inches wide. I haven't decided if I'm going to put a rose in here or a hydrangea, so I'm still thinking on that. This oval here, it is facing, I want to face it down, so I'll have to have this more on a little bit down in the center part. This one I want facing into this corner right here. Now once I have the bigger ovals on, then what I did was I came and I put smaller branches off of this large C that I had here. I put one going up this way, and then I branched off one off here, added another small branch right here, took one and brought down to here, down to this corner close to it. Then this opening right here, I brought a branch out here and curved it down here closer to this corner and added a few smaller strokes on it also. Then also what you're going to have is the stems of your roses. So I have one stem coming off this direction, meeting this rose. This flower here, I have one right in your center point here. I'm curving it down, and this one came all the way down to here. That brought us another stem. So you need at least three stems down here to hold the roses. This one right here, here's your center, and I started here, and I just kind of brought another one down here. Okay? Now I will probably add more here and there as I go along, but this is setting us up for our foliage that we want to put in. All that has to be done underneath the roses. So my next step will be putting in some foliage and nice curvage, getting the design going and flowing in the right direction. Now if you want a little more video instruction on foliage and how I get going on it, I do have another video available that is on just 3 roses, and it goes more into detail how to do your foliage. The videos I have now up are pretty much shortened videos so that I can fit it all into an hour. So these are going to be a little briefer, but you do have reference to where you can go back if you want more instruction on it. Okay, let's get our pattern sketched on and let's get to the foliage. See you in a few. So here we are on doing some of our blade foliage, and for that I am using some floating medium. This is some of the Greenscape, or let's see, the Liquitex is called Green Gray. This is a phthalo green, which is a blue green, and this one here you can use sap green or the hooker's green in Liquitex. And I am using a number 10 flat, and what you want to do is first put some floating medium in your brush, and you do that by pulling some of it out, flattening your brush out, and loading it on both sides. You want to load that inside the bristles. You want this to be transparent when you put it on, because you don't want it to stand out real heavy. So then what I do is I come out and I pull out some of the Greenscape or the light gray, and I go back and forth and load it with the floating medium in it. If I need more floating medium, just dip in it, come back. You want this to be transparent. That's the word I want, transparent. Dip the corner of the brush, just a tip, just the tip of it, see? Not very much. It goes a long way. That phthalo green is a real strong color, to where you have kind of like turquoisey gray. Okay, your brush is nice and dressed. So then what I want to do is, I've done a few of them down here just to save us some time. Those were the branches that we put in. So now I want to put in this branch here. So I'm just going to take and run up on a chisel edge Once I get up here, I'm going to flatten. I'm going to chisel to a point. Then I need to load the brush up again. I'm going to load up with some medium. A little bit of the phthalo. What I'm doing is I'm dressing this brush back into a chisel edge. You want a chisel edge on it. You don't want it open. If your brush won't go to a chisel edge, then you need a different brush. Alright, so here we go. We're going to follow the line. Now I'm tilting my brush a little bit like this so you can see it, but you want to be up on the chisel edge like that. So it's chisel, flatten, chisel, chisel, flatten, chisel. And you want to go in the direction that you want the flow of those leaves to go in, the real graceful look of those leaves. Make sure you keep your paint really transparent, okay? Okay, come up on the edge of the stem, come up and chisel down. It's okay if you go over this little oval here, because we're gonna come over that anyway. Okay, now when you come on the other side, some of these are gonna go this direction, pointed towards the front part of that. And then as you come down, they could drape a little more. You could start on the tip and come in too. If you need more instruction on how to do these blade foliage, you can look on Donna Dewberry's site, onestroke.com, and her stroke study number 1 has all these fillers that you can use, leaves and fillers for your paintings. And you can get the packet, and you can also get a video for that, and that will give you more instruction too. Okay, I'm going to bring this back down all the way to the end there. Now I'm going to go ahead and add, I'm going to move that up some so you can see this down here. Now some of this, once it's dried, I might want to come back and deepen some of that. If I want it to, some of them to show up a little bit more. Just make sure it is still kind of transparency. See, now if I come back and put some, add a little more of the phthalo green in it. See, make your color a little bit deeper. Not a whole lot. And I'm just gonna add a few of these that are gonna be deeper in color, so that way some of these look further behind, and as you add these colors here, it will bring those closer to you. Okay, let's go here, and I think I want that one a little closer to me. Also, while it's wet, you can go ahead, come in, you can put you a little vein down the center. Of course, these look a little bare because that's all you're looking at, but once you get your other elements in here, it won't look bare. Some of these I'm going to add deeper in color. The ones that might look a little closer to you. Okay, come back with a little stem on it. Let's add this one too, a little deeper. It's wet, put a little stem in there. And let's see. Let's add one more back here. Let's add this one right here. And you can make the stem a little fat or whatever. Now, like I say, this is not going to be the main feature of this painting, so it looks important now because that's all you're looking at. Okay, and once this is dry like it is now, make sure you add a few of these a little deeper in color. Let's travel the eye back up here. Dress your brush again for that chisel edge. And I just pick these at random. A few here, a few there. I don't try to add some on each side here. Have a little bit of a dry edge. Now let's just redo that. Trying to stay out of your way here. So you can add your vein, you know, while it's wet. Okay. So that's all we're going to do on these right now. There's the bottom half. Okay. And we come up, there's the top half. Okay, so those are the little blade fillers that you're going to put in your canvas. There we go. Let's get a full shot of it here for you. There you go. Okay, these are the flowers, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, get those in and we'll come back and we'll add some more goodies to it. Okay, see you in a few. Now the next thing we want to add is some filler. And for that I have a number 10 filbert, and I have used some floating medium, a little bit of the gray, and a little bit of that hooker's green. I just touched little bits of it and worked it into this little area here so it's very transparent. And I've come back here and I've added some flip-floppy strokes, and by that I'm turning and twisting this brush different directions as it's hitting the canvas. Each time I hit the canvas, when I go back to hit it again, my brush is at a different angle, and I'm flip-flopping these other colors in here to create a little bit deeper color. I'm layering is what I'm doing, and I'm layering with a different color. The only thing you need to remember is to keep it nice and soft. See, I've come over here, flip flop different colors right around some of those flowers. I don't want it deep in color. I want those petals to be somewhat transparent on the outside edge. I don't do one stroke and then do another little stroke and another. I just flip-flop that brush around and let it have a good time and hit and land wherever it wants to. Because if it lands somewhere you don't want, then just pick up your brush and wipe it off, or keep your little QT next to you, and you'll be able to just wipe it off if you get an area, you know, that you just don't like. Now you can see I've added color all in here. These are all the little flip-flop strokes. And if you want a little more instruction on this, you can go to the video that says Foliage, because I pretty much lay these in the same. I just change my colors. Let's see over here. We might want this to come off a little bit here on the edge. Now a lot of times you need it a lot right in these areas where the flowers meet. You want to deepen it up a little bit. Want to keep that real strong highlight there. So I don't want to get into that, but I can come close to it. Let's see, we're going to have a stem come through here. This one will come through there. There. When you run out of paint, you just grab some more. I'm barely tipping in this, everybody. I'm not. See, because you want it transparent. Okay, see how I've entered some of this down here? Okay, that has brought up more color for the area. Let's work some of this up in here a little bit more so it doesn't look like it's rounded up there. Now we can add more later on once we get the flowers on. Not too concerned with this right now. Whether I have enough, whether I don't have enough, I can always come back after everything is done and glaze in more colors. Because sometimes we don't know until we get our flowers in. We don't know what color our flowers are going to come out or whatever, and then we would want to pull some of the flower color out here too. So this is just getting it going, so it's not so bare around all these little flowers that we're gonna be doing. So go ahead and put your foliage in, and we'll come back, and I may do some deeper leaves. I'm not quite for sure. I may just go ahead and start on the flowers. I want to think about it a minute. I want to be sure I have my colors lined up so that I know where I'm going on that. So I'll be back in a few. Now when we're doing leaves, I like to do a ruffle type leaf, which you can see a little corner right here. And to do that, I have used, I'm on a 16 brush. I have used a little bit of the Hooker's Green and a little bit of white. And I've double loaded it. I went back and forth. My brush is ready to go. Make sure you have a nice chisel point on that. Okay, and then what I like to do is I will start on one side of the leaf and then I'll come back and do the other side. Now if you want more information on how to do the ruffle leaves, you can go to Donna Dewberry's site, onestroke.com, and her stroke study number 4 will show you how to do several different types of leaves, and she does have this rolled leaf on it. So if you need more instruction, I would recommend going there and getting that stroke study. You can get a video and you can get a packet. Okay, so let me show you how I'm going to do this roll stroke. So I put my brush down and we're doing our little loops, and as I come back, then I come back and I do that little roll. Now that little roll there, I'm pretty much leaning on the outside edge of the brush when I do these. When I get ready to do that roll, I'm flat here, flat here, flat, and then on my third one I'm going to roll it, and I'm going to tilt my brush up a little bit so that I can get that tip on there. I roll it this way when I come down and up, and then I'll flatten it out again when I get over here. That makes that little roll there. I don't keep it flat in that roll. Okay, I'm going to come around. I have to have my board turned a certain way to do these. Okay, now this one, a lot of times I don't roll this one very much, but you have to come back and roll it this way. It's a little harder to roll, especially if you're right-handed. Sometimes I will just do a real quick roll, and it's not even a roll. It's coming this way, and I dip down and come back up, because it's hard to do the roll on the left for me. So that's just an alternate way to do it. Okay, now let's go to the other side here. I'm going to pick up my palette and I'm going to go back and reload and make sure I have this brush and a nice chisel edge. Go back and forth. Chisel edge means like that. Your brush is not flaring on the end. Okay, let's do this other side. I usually go 1, 2. On the third roll, I'm going to roll it back, come back up, 2, third roll, come back down. That's just the way in fact, I lost my curl here. That's the way I learned them when I was doing the certification. I had to have a way to count so that I could get myself ready for that roll. Okay, on this one here, I'm going to cheat on this roll here because it's been a long time since my cert. I'm just going to come down, come back up, come down and up. Okay, and I'm going to take the back corner of the brush and I'm just going to bitty-bat that. Get my chisel edge back and I'm going to put my stem in. Okay, now you can come back and redo that. You know, you're not going to get this the first time. Definitely not the second time, or maybe even the third time. It's back, roll it. Just a little something you can work with. Okay, so those are, that vein's a little bit too thick for me, but that gives you something to work on. Now some other roll leaves that I did was these little small ones here. This one might be better with a number 12 brush on that, but you can see the little rollbacks here. But that's the kind of leaf I like to put in a lot of times when I'm doing the Donna Dewberry one-stroke leaves. Let me pull back on this canvas so that you can see where I put my leaves. There we go. So you can see I have added several leaves, several down here, 3 up here, a couple of them here. I might go back over that, and if you want to add some little shading and highlighting, I'm just going to wipe that brush down, not cleaning it. I can pick up a little bit of pink on one edge or whatever, because I know my roses, I'm going to have some pink in it. And I like to add different colors in it, so I could come back and I could add little bits of pink to my leaves also, being as I kind of know what colors I'm going to have in my roses here. You can shade and float a little bit of pinks and a little bit of blues. Here's my pinks. This is going to be my roses, and there's that blue color I really like. So you can come back and float other little colors on there. And once I get the roses on, we'll come back and we will touch this up. But just wanted to let you know what kind of leaves that we're putting on this. If you can't do the rollback leaf, just put a one-stroke leaf on there. Put whatever leaf that you do best. You can do an up and back leaf. a one-stroke leaf, a rollback leaf, several leaves that you can do. You don't have to do the ones that I have on this painting. Do what you know how to do, but if you want to learn something new, you'll have an opportunity to learn the rollback leaf. All right, so there's our leaves. Get those put on. Let them dry, and we are going to do roses next. So I'll see you in a few. All right, everyone, we're ready to start our rose. And for that, I have 2 3/4-inch brushes. And I also had another brush that I use. This one's just an older brush that I use to put on our slow dry medium onto our dry canvas. Make sure everything is dry, all your leaves are dry. Or if you put that slow dry on top, then what it'll do is start pulling them up. If you don't want to wait for it to dry, just regular, you can get a hair dryer out and make sure all your leaves and everything are dry here. So when I applied the slow dry medium, what I did was you want to go back and forth and you want to work it into your canvas. You don't want to just put a big pile up here and then just spread it out so that it's so thick that when you put your color on, it's just going to float on the top of that. You want to check to be sure everything is wet, but you want to spread it out and you want to really work it in that canvas with back and forth strokes so you have a nice thin coat on it. Okay, so I have the thin coat on. I have my brushes here, and what I want to do is use one of these brushes to apply my color. Now the color for this rose is in the pinks, and I have used a Liquitex medium magenta. That's the color there. And I have also used for the dark color alizarin crimson, and that is a Liquitex also. Now if you're using folk art colors, you can use berry wine for your dark color, and you can use keepsake rose or magenta for your rose color. And then you're going to need white for your base on overstroking on your petals. And I even picked up a little bit of this yellow here, which is a daffodil yellow folk art. Any yellow will work though. Okay. So when I base in, I pretty much just take my brush and pull the paint out, and I'm going to load both sides with the paint. I'm not using anything but the paint because I do have the medium on. Now for this rose, I want an open area, about that size there. That's probably 3 inches by 2 inches. That's going to be the center part of the rose. And then when I'm putting this on, the color on, I want to make sure that I go out a little bit past these leaves. I don't want to go too much because then I'll cover up my leaf. Now we also want to put our smile in so we get the bowl of the leaf. Put a little smile under that oval. And these here are just going to be our rose petal leaves that are going to come in. And you can look on the other video I have on roses and you can get a little more in depth on this. But that's kind of like our sketch. This is an open rose. It's not a closed one. So once we have the pink on, and we've pulled our paint out and our brush is nice and loaded on both sides, then come up here and start putting on our color. and I'm just pushing. I don't want this. I want it to be random on the edges. See how jagged that is? I don't want anything to be real precise on it. So do your outside edges first. Come right up under that bowl. Don't go into the bowl yet. My paint's getting a little thin, so let's add a little bit more. And you might have to do that each time. Just pull out a little more. Okay, now as I work into the center, I'll bring that center down a little bit, like right there. Okay, now the front of the rose, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of the yellow. I'm going to pick it up. I have pink on my brush, but that's okay. Add a little white to it. I want the center part, not the center of the rose, but the bowl of the rose. I want that to be like a light yellow. So I'm doing the cup. Light yellow, and I'm going to wipe my brush on a paper towel, not cleaning it, just take some of the paint off. Then I'm going to go into the dark, which is the alizarin, and we're going to paint the center of this, and I want this to be dark in the center. I'm going to pull some of this color up into the pink. Now it's not dark enough for me. You can't see that. So I'm going to lay my brush. If it takes too much paint off going this way and pulling, lay your brush flat. See how I'm holding it? Flat. And just glide it along the top there. Sometimes that medium that we have underneath there will make it a little slick. So now I'm going to glide some of that color right under the bowl here. It can be sloppy. It doesn't have to be perfectly painted. If you want perfect painted, you're going to be here a long time because it's slick under there. All right. Okay, we've got everything on. Take this brush, wipe it on a paper towel. I'm going to put it in a tray of water. I am finished with that one. And I pick up my other 3/4 inch brush. And I'm going to pull out white. Now I want this white to be really loose. Not runny, loose. So I'm going to dip the corner of my brush in a little bit of water. Come over here and pull some more of that out. I just want a loose paint. If I go into regular paint, try to excuse me, paint that, it's going to be too thick. So you want a looser type paint. You want it to look transparent, so that's why I have a looser paint on here. Okay, start coming back. I'm going to start with the back petals here, and if you sketch in a little petal here, I can come out a little further on that because I don't need to cover up a leaf. That's sort of the shape we want. So I'm going to touch in the center, touch, pull. Now I picked up a little green. I think I picked up green on my palette, not from my leaves. My leaves are dry. Okay, there's one. Come back, pick up a little more. I'm just picking up a little more loose paint. If your brush gets too thick with paint, then what you need to do is wipe your brush on a paper towel. I'm going to have to move this so you guys can see it. So touch up here. I'm touching right up here at the tip. I'm going to pull down, touch and pull, just like we did on those other roses. Okay. I'm dressing my brush each time, brushing it so that it goes into a chisel. All right. I want these petals to be really, really transparent. So I'm going to go out here, push in. You don't want a lot of paint. Let me see if I can pull up this way. Don't want a lot of paint. See, touch, pull. Now I'm going to come around to this one, touch, pull. Real faint petals. You don't want... Okay, let's get one over here. Touch, pull in the center, and then 45-degree angles on each side. Trying to keep them nice and airy. Let's go right here, touch, pull. See how airy those look? Now you won't get them airy like that if you have too much paint on your brush. That's why I want it thinned down. Alright, let's turn this. Set this back down. See how transparent you can see what's underneath it? Okay, let me back up a little bit here. There we go. I have to get up to back it up. Okay, now as we're coming into the center here, I want to add some more petals, so I'm going to touch and pull, touch and pull. There's 3. 3 makes a nice little petal for you. Now on some of these strokes, I'm just sitting on the edge. I'm actually painting on that back corner back there. And that is just something you're going to have to learn to work on. And Donna does this all the time on her roses. She works on that back corner with these big brushes. Okay, I'm going to do another petal here. I'm on the back corner. Just barely tipping that. I know it's hard to see, but you have to have your brush at a certain angle to get that. Just make sure your paint is loose. Back corner again. I can add another petal in there, but I'm going to wait and see if this looks all right to me. When you need paint, just barely pick up paint and pull it in. All right, we want some side petals here, so I want that side petal to go right into the center point here, so I'm kind of on the edge here, kind of like a C-stroke. All right, here, let's do some little side petals. We are pulling right on into that center point there. Okay, see how that one slants and pulls right on in there? Now let's do the front. I'm going to do, to get this so you can see this, I'm going to touch right here, and I'm going to curve it down there. Touch and swoop it. Okay, this side, touch and swoop. I'm trying to keep this bowl down here, the one we created. All right, touch right here. Touch, pull down. There's your another petal. Touch, pull. I'm not pulling very far. I don't need to pull very far. I have paint on there. Okay. All right, let's get this back a little bit. Okay, check your petals. Where would I want another one? Now I'm just picking up a little white on my edge. See, I've got a little white on that edge there. Let's bring in a few petals down here. So this one's going to go this way. All right. Now I want to create one coming up this way. So I touch right here on the edge. I'm going to come up. I can come back down a little bit. I can connect to one over here. I can bring it down a little bit more. I mean, I'm talking about bringing our cup down a little more. Now I want a few small ones down here, and I'm just going to touch and pull in. A few little small ones down here. Maybe they slide right in there. Okay. Let's get a little more. I need to punch that up a little bit. It's getting a little lost in there. There we go. I can add a few little comma strokes down there. You're just basically touching your brush to that. Okay, I'm looking at this. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to ruffle a little area up here. So it looks like there's another petal up there. You know, it's just kind of fluffy with petals. Going to edge that right here. Just going to edge some of these that I see might need to be pulled out some. I'm using white. Okay. Now what I would do for the rest of this is I think I want to add a little bit of this blue color. So I'm going to wipe my brush on a paper towel till I get the top coat off. I'm going to come in with this pretty blue color that I like so well. I'm just going to tip the edge of my brush, and that one is that lavender blue color. Let's see what color that is. Light blue violet. Light blue violet. My favorite color for tipping these roses in. Alright, so I'm going to tip a few of them in the center here. Yeah, like that. And I can come back and add a little more. Now remember everyone, you have to do this while it's wet. You know, we can't come back and tip this once it's dry. You can if you want to go back into some medium. You'd have to totally let it dry, come back, put some more of the slow dry on, or even a little floating medium might let you do it. And come back and re-tip these. Okay, so I have enough in here. I think I want just a few right down in here, because I kind of lost some of these down here. You know, they got a little transparent, too transparent here where the leaves are. Let's go back here. Don't want to add a whole lot, but just enough to tip those roses there. Now for the center part, I'm just going to dab my brush in a little bit of yellow. Come over here where the white is. Kind of intermix them together. Oh, looks like our gardener's here today. Okay, I gotta finish and do this so you guys can hear me. Okay, and then I'm just gonna put some little dots here, like that. And that rose is complete. So for the rest of the painting here, I have completed this rose over here. And for that color, I used Folk Art Keepsake Rose, which is this one right here. And then I used a little bit of yellow in with it, and you can see the color tones over here, and then overlaid it in some white with a little bit of the keepsake in it for a light pink color. And the only other thing that I did was I came back and I added some of these leaves back over some of the roses. Otherwise it makes the roses look like they're all pasted right on top of everything underneath it. So I wanted to set some of them back, so I came back some of these blade leaves and put them over the roses. You can see a few of them over here, a few of them up here. And then the last thing I did was I added some of these little squishies right here. And all that is you're taking your number 10 flat brush, and I dipped in a little bit of this yellow here and a little bit of the alizarin here, and I just double loaded it, went back and forth on it, loaded it in my brush. And then when I came over here to my board here, I touched the light yellow to the top, and I just set down my brush and I just wiggle it back and forth, and that will give me just a little squishy, put a little tail on it. That just added a little bit of color. You can see that I have them over here, down here, here, in here, and all around. If I want them, to come up more of a yellow on the top, then that's what I would do. So your top color is going to be on the top, and you want a darker color on the bottom. You just sit on your brush and go back and forth like that. Squish it. You sit down and you squish it. And then it adds these other little colors in, and it also puts other little leaves and stuff on top of your roses. So that completes this painting here on Wet and Wet Roses. So I want to thank everyone for joining me. Also, make sure that you like and subscribe and share these videos. YouTube likes it when you put like on there. If you enjoy these, you want to keep me doing them. YouTube wants those like buttons on there so I can continue to give you different paintings in this wet and wet one-stroke style. So thank you again for joining me. Bye, take care, and I will see you next time.